alternative form of transportation the most. And I would like to end by showing my support for bus rapid transit, as they are the ones who are looking at implementing some of these plans into El Camino and Silk and Stevens Creek. So I'm here to show support for the bus rapid transit system, and thank you.
Thank you. One will be followed by Brian Darrow and Jerry Mungai and Martin Bernal.
I'd just like to begin by saying three things. Number one, I'm Bay Area bred, having been raised on the peninsula and the East Bay. Number two, I'm not an environmentalist, I'm a transportation engineer. And the third thing, I just have a question for all the folks with the science. How many of you guys think that this plan is going to cost too much? Anybody? Well, I hate to tell you, already paying too much. The bastion of liberal thought, the Texas Transportation Institute, has already quantified the cost of congestion in hundreds of millions on a yearly basis. So whether we act now or we don't do anything, we're either paying through our nose. The second part, whether we like to or not, we're not an agglomeration of individual communities. You go anywhere in the country, nobody's heard of Los Gatos or Cupertino or Hayward. What we hear, what Bay Area, whether we like to or not, we're already one Bay Area, whether we like to admit it or not. As Benjamin Franklin put it, we must all hang together, or assuredly we shall all hang separately. The third part is that I think I'm doing all right for myself. I have a job and a half. I'm working my way through my master's right now. I do all right. There's just one problem. I can't even consider trying to buy a house. I can't consider doing anything with my life. I couldn't buy a car. I can't do nothing like that. There's something wrong with the picture. I'm gainfully employed and I can't make any plans for my future. There's a sort of name for a place like this where a young full fellow like me has no future. It's called Detroit. If we end up like that, well, we won't have any more congestion, that's for sure. It's bloody ludicrous when we don't have any path for a young fellow like me or my peers to try to build our way up. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Brian Darrow with Working Partnerships USA, and I'm here to express our support for most of the Planned Bay Area draft. We think the plan is really a step in the right direction. Particularly, we're glad to see that all of the growth is really focused within the existing urban service area, bringing housing and jobs closer together. I think most of us who live in Santa Clara County know that we have vast opportunities to live in low-density suburban communities. I grew up in one, and we'll continue to have those opportunities. What we lack is options for more walkable neighborhoods with access to transit. So we're glad to see the region starting to plan to invest in that type of growth and incentivizing cities to move in that direction if they can. What we think is missing, however, from the plan are some of the best aspects of the environment, equity, and jobs scenario. In particular, we urge MTC and ABAC to strengthen the One Bay Area grant program to better encourage anti-displacement and affordable housing policies. It's critical that we don't push out the families that rely most on transit from the areas that are being improved by transit investments. Secondly, we'd ask that you prioritize transit operations with future unrestricted funds. And please ensure that the hot lane network is designed in a way that mitigates the impacts on low-income commuters, and also that we use existing highways rather than spend money on building expanded freeways. Finally, I'd just like to make the point that we'd like the plan to consider the quality of the jobs that development creates. Unfortunately, 1/3 of jobs in Silicon Valley now pay less than enough to meet the basic standard for self-sufficiency. In 2000, that was 1/4 of the jobs, so we're moving in the wrong direction. In other words, it's very hard for workers to afford to live here, which increases commute times, it increases traffic congestion, and it lowers quality of life. We'd like to see standards in the plan to encourage using the local workforce and encourage jobs that pay sustainable wages that allow folks to afford to live here. Building a strong middle class doesn't just happen by itself. It's the result of conscious policy decisions and long-term planning. So it's important to make sure that our land use and transportation plans consider and promote the creation of quality jobs. Thank you.
charts here show that San Jose job growth is going to be up 39%, and housing is going to be up 41%. Meanwhile, San Francisco jobs are going up 34%, and housing is only going up 25%. San Jose already has an imbalance between jobs and housing. We need more jobs and fewer housing units. We have this housing is expensive here because of the thousands of acres that are devoted to open space, or reptiles, gophers, birds, and whatever. And the only humans that really can use all these open space areas is minority of people who can afford to have folks take care of their homes and their gardens and whatnot, and those people live in San Jose. So we have a very economic imbalance in San Jose. And meanwhile, the San Jose residents have to live in crammed into high-rises, which is called stack and pack housing. Affordable housing is housing is affordable to anyone. It depends upon your income level. If you're in a house in African, could be affordable to somebody, but not to somebody else. But let the market decide what is affordable. As we get rid of these arrays, these armies, the bureaucrats, you find affordability categories, low, moderate, above market, etc. This is really all about control. It's very interesting to see here. What does environmental justice mean? Residential executive order talks about fairly distributed benefits and burdens for disadvantaged communities to include minority and low-income communities. What's fair? Who determines that? So this is really nothing more than social justice.
Right.
Taking from those who have and forcibly giving it to those who don't have. Our policies, economic policies, are forcing the middle class to flee the state and to go elsewhere, leaving only the wealthy, those who live in the self-stocking districts around San Jose, and the poor that work in the factories.
Thank you, Smile. Now, we'll ask Sarah Peters, Ty Lay, and Simon Pan.
My name is Mark Brunel, and this is an extension of Michael Shaw's speech that he was giving. ICLEI. ABAC has worked closely and has generally conformed to policy directives delivered by ICLEI, evidence all over the map. ICLEI, full name is International Council for Global Environmental Initiatives, is an international non-governmental organization that is accredited by the United Nations for purposes of implementing the action plan of Agenda 21, the blueprint for world government. Local Agenda 21 Plan and Guide, close quote, was drafted by the ICLEI organization. ICLEI has contracts with over 600 U.S. cities and 1,200 cities around the world. The highest concentration of ICLEI city contracts in the world is the San Francisco Bay Area. Article 1, Section 10. California Penal Code Section 37 and 38, dating from the 1850s, sets forth the procedure for noticing officials of treasonous activity. This is called a misprint of treason. Ask Scott Haggerty, Haggerty, supervisor in Alameda and ABAC leader, as to how you might experience receipt. Those interested may obtain information on misprision of treason by visiting freedomadvocates.org and reading the misprision of treason primer. Ladies and gentlemen, the development of policies we're pursuing are a patent implementation of Agenda 21 Sustainable Development. Michael Shaw, there, challenges any elected official who is part of ABAC to publicly debate the philosophical, economic, and political implications of ABAC's existence and avoid the nature of Agenda 21 and its implementation in the U.S. often directed by Council on Governments.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
I plan to move to California.
I'm here to voice my support for Plan Bay Area and SB 275. And I think we all know that the Bay Area is a really attractive place to live. That's why we have to have this planning effort. I myself moved here from the Central Valley about 10 years ago. Because in the Central Valley, there's not a lot of jobs, there's not a lot of opportunity, and honestly, I hated having to drive everywhere. When I was a kid, I couldn't get anywhere without my mom driving me. When my grandmother got too old to drive, her world just shut in around her. If we had been living in a place like San Francisco or Central Oakland, where there was good transit and opportunities to walk places, our lives would have been pretty different. So I moved here because I wanted to live somewhere that had opportunity and not spend a third of my income on a car when I was still paying off the student loans. But as I spent more and more years here, I became afraid that I wouldn't get to live here long term. I'd be priced out. And I'm a college-educated professional. So when you think about people like me getting priced out, think about all the other people who are getting priced out. Rents kept going up and housing prices kept going up, and the only places that were getting built were houses way, way out in the suburbs. We'll talk about a lack of options in social engineering. So personally, I'm really excited to see Plan Bay Area focusing growth in existing urban centers and increasing connections between housing, jobs, schools, and transportation. That's all I want to say. Thanks.
Thank you. Followed by Simon Ken and C as in Charlie Novak. Thank you.
Okay. So my name is Ty. I am a student from San Jose State University. I am very learning more about this plan myself. So if there are any population projections that are wrong or structural projections are wrong, I hope you guys take into consideration and really make this plan a good plan and to help sustain a sustainable community and also the public transit. Anyhow, I want to say that I support the general idea of this plan that and from I'm a person from a younger generation that do want to live in the city, and I love the idea of being able to walk out of my house or my apartment or whatever the heck I'm going to be living in a few years and walk 5 minutes and hit a bus stop, hop on the bus, go to work or go to school. And so I do support the idea of this plan and everything else that D as a student supported so far, and also Priscilla from Transform. And on the topic of electric automobile, if I'm going to drive in the city, I would love an electric car that will help reduce pollution and also global climate change. And most of all, I love the idea and it's really support public transit and continue on.
I have 5 cards left in my hand. If you would like to speak, get the cards in because time's running short. Okay, Simon.
Hi, so this is actually my first time speaking at a public hearing. Excuse me. Originally I wasn't going to speak at first because after looking through the plan, I realized just the sheer amount of complexity and the amount of detail that you guys went into, and clearly a lot of effort went into the plan. And I can't fathom how I could have provided some useful input. But while sitting here and listening to a lot of the opposition to the plan, I'm really shocked actually to the opposition, just because maybe it's a generational gap. Maybe it seems that way that people who are the most vocal of the plan against the plan are the ones who have the most time or the most ability, the most dedication to come out here and voice their opposition. But let me ask a rhetorical question to the room, and it's really if you're against the plan, are you really against specific parts of the plan, or are you against central plan in general? Because if you don't have centralized planning, you don't have sustainable growth plan for the future. The state can't sustain itself without central planning. The best cities, the best cities in the world plan. I mean, you look at places like Singapore, they're known for 50-year plans, and the fruits of their plans 50 years ago pay off now because that census is tiny, and they have to plan to sustain the amount of sheer population growth that happens. California has population growth, California has incoming residents. You have to realize that this is a problem that we have to deal with starting now. And having different regions and different cities kind of arguing about this plan doesn't work for me or this plan does, and disagreeing doesn't really create a cohesive story for the Bay Area. No plan is going to make everybody happy. Every plan is going to piss off somebody. But which one is the responsible plan? Which one is the one that actually accounts for future growth, and which is the scalable one?
One with transparency.
Steve Novak, followed by Gloria Strong, followed by Susan Martin.
Thank you very much for having this public forum. Appreciate that. I'm going to focus on more of the politics and the local representation of this matter. All politics is local. And when you look at this plan, it just puts it further and further out from the reach of people that are going to be affected by it. So if there are millions of people in the Bay Area, and this is something that's driven by some rural organization and unelected officials, that just is a recipe for disaster. You're not having transparency, control, and accountability.
That's right.
We are a democratically elected republic so far. I believe in solutions of the individual and innovation. We are Silicon Valley.
Yes.
The people have the power, they've got the wisdom, we can find a solution. We don't need a one-size-fits-all huge plan that is forced upon us and our children and grandchildren if this plan is going to last 30 years. I just look at many different government-run organizations, the inefficiencies of them. When the Transcontinental Railroad was first built, two companies did it. One was a government-sponsored, one was an individual, privately financed. The privately financed made it faster, lower budget, more efficient. I believe in the power of the free market. The free market is the power. You look at other government-run organizations, there is no centralized control board that has the flexibility, the wisdom of all of the individual people reacting and comment. You can look at other forms of government around the world and how well they run. Look at any centralized, controlled Eastern European power, and they just don't have the flexibility, the wisdom, and the reaction time as individuals do. So I would like to say a lot of decent causes start out sounding good, but then they get hijacked and they're under control and you can't reach them and there's no accountability.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Anything
Gloria Strong, followed by Susan Martin, followed by Dean Martin.
My name is Gloria Strong. I just want to say freedom has the best chance of making everybody happy. And I am speaking for the oppressed minority, the individual. Mr. Liccardo, who told us earlier to be civil, would you tell somebody who is being assaulted to be civil as well? We will not be silenced. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm here to support SB 375 and the plan area draft plan that we have in front of us tonight. It emphasizes housing elements and transportation. This plan does prepare the San Francisco Bay Area as an economic player in the global world. I do have one concern about target number 7 on equitable access, and hope that the 10% decrease on page 108 can be raised to help struggling households. And those kind of households involve all kinds of people, from teachers, police, fire. Then we need to do a little bit more to support those people. If you could please incorporate some of the recommendations from the EEJ, which will help also address the gap in equitable access for all people. Thank you. And thank you to the students that came tonight. I have a lot of respect and admiration for you being here. Thank you.
Followed by Mr. Keel.
Hi, I'm Jean from Morgan Hill, and I understand where the De students are coming from, because at one time I was a student and wasn't making little money. But the American dream is to add your own home, and most of these homes are in suburbia. And part of this plan is taking money out of suburbia to finance this regional plan. I downloaded the 1,300 pages of this VIP report, and I was able to get through the first 100. And the thing that hasn't been mentioned here is about the vehicle miles driven in your plan. I think eventually you want to impose a tax on people who drive cars and record how many miles they drive and tax them accordingly. To this I find a terrible thing in California because we're being taxed already. But to tax the miles you're driving, who's it going to hurt? It's going to hurt low-income people, anybody trying to get to work. I think it's vast and unfair, but this is something that was not mentioned, but it is in your report. Thank you.
You're forcing us.
Hi, my name is Don Tigro. I live in San Jose. My simple desire is for my children and grandchildren not to have to move away so that they can live in a good community with affordable housing and great transportation, including walking and bike and transit as well as cars. We've all seen, 50 years of unplanned growth and urban sprawl in Southern California. It's been a disaster. The so-called free market merely makes rich developers richer. Our children deserve better ideas. Frankly, I never expected to hear so much ideological nonsense tonight about doing smart planning. It's time to leave horse and buggy ideas behind. I support the Bay Area plan as a sensible, smart idea that's supported by our elected officials. Good job. Our kids deserve it. Thank you.
As we conclude tonight, I just want to thank you all for coming. Obviously, there's been a wide diversity of opinions here, which is what makes the Bay Area so wonderful. We are very diverse, we disagree, we all live together. I think that's why so many people want to come here. The final two takeaways, one is that this is a work in progress. And the other is that land use decisions are made at the local level by your elected officials. I know how it works in Mountain View. We have areas that we want to change, areas that we don't want to change. People get choices. Different people want to live in different places, and one set of people finds it very difficult to understand the other set of people. Why would you want to live in suburbia and drive, or why would you want to live in an apartment near the train tracks? People find it very difficult to understand each other, but we all find a way to live together in the Bay Area. So thank you for coming.
Thank you. I'd just like to echo my colleagues. I appreciate all of you taking time out of your very busy days to be here.
Do you live in single-family residences? Can I ask you that? Personally, do you two live in single-family residences? I do. Do you live in the high-density?